Hello, I'm Colleen Holder and this is Let's Talk Tobago. Today we'll be visiting the three historical sites in Plymouth, the Courlanders Monument, the Mystery Tombstone and Fort James. We'll share the history and folklore of these sites as our program continues. But first, let's take a look at our stories this week. The trail leads to the Eco-Industrial Park. Talk it out, resolving problems without stepping into a courtroom, and the Tobago Jazz Experience begins.
It's happening in the east, on the hill, on the waterfront, on the beach. It takes on the world. It's got pizzazz. It's a fiesta, and it's truly an amazing island experience. It's food, fashion, and it's fabulous. The Tobago Jazz Experience, April 20th to April 28th. Much more than music.
Welcome back. This is Let's Talk Tobago. Today, our first stop takes us to the Courlander Monument as part of our tour of the three historical sites in Plymouth. This work of art was designed by artist Yanis Mintix and represents freedom. The monument is a tribute to the early settlers who came to Plymouth from Courland or modern-day Latvia. It was unveiled in June 1978. Let's leave it there for now to tell you about a new opportunity for entrepreneurs across the island. Whether you're into metalwork, agro-processing, garment construction, upholstery, it really doesn't matter. There's a place that caters for you. One of its goals is to assist in small business development and ensure that they grow and expand. And it's your chance to work and host your products in a professional environment. What are we talking about? Davia Chambers explains.
Imagine moving from here as a producer of goods to there. It looks like a dream? Well, it's more than that. It's a reality. The management company for COVE Eco-Industrial and Business Park, EADCUT, wants to offer you a space.
This is a recent response to the fact that, yes, we know we have large entities, but what about the smaller people? People who probably need to get a smaller rent, so to speak. People who are just starting out. People who are operating at home right now, what we call cottage industries. These are the people we want to fit into those multi-producer units, and their number that
32 to be exact, more than 24 multi-producer units that will be opened 24/7. Mrs. McLeod says she hopes that by December, the entire building can be filled. She says the idea is to get small businesses to start producing wholesale goods.
Tobago, Trinidad, and of course beyond. And we have people, I'm saying, like that already, who are just finalizing to submit their forms to us.
This meeting is part of EADCUT's drive to make Tobagonian businesses aware that COVE can be a base for them. And the company started their outreach here in Buku, but the prospective tenants want to know what's in it for them should they move to the park.
We're alongside the EU, we're working alongside Export TT, Venture Capital and so forth. These entities already have measures in place in terms of incentives and grants and so forth. To be counterproductive of us to be offering the same thing which they are offering. So we are working along those parties.
EADCUT was established in 2009 by the Assembly as part of its efforts to diversify Tobago's economy. The COVE Eco-Industrial and Business Park is the largest industrial estate in the region. I'm Davia Chambers for Let's Talk Tobago.
This is how one regional think tank put it. The state of Caribbean tourism gives us reason to be optimistic. Good news, given the dismal numbers most islands, including Tobago, had recorded over the last 5 years. Today, it's projected that visitor arrivals this year will increase, hotel revenues will rise, and we'll see more tourists spending while on vacation. Those are the facts. But how do we turn any of this into reality? Omadara Mills has the answers.
The tourism sector is a major contributor to the island's economy. But the numbers fell drastically during the global financial crisis and has only recently started regaining lost ground, a trend Tobago wants to continue.
The Secretary for Tourism and Transportation, in her presentation at her first maiden speech, she alluded to ensuring that tourism become a year-round experience in Tobago. And if we're going to do that, we have to build sustainability in that process.
It's why a contingent from the division headed to Trinidad for the annual Conference on Sustainable Tourism Development. This forum is recognized as a must-do for everyone involved in tourism.
What the conference was designed to do is to assist nation states within the Caribbean to rethink destination development in terms of product and marketing, and trying to develop that sustainable effort to ensure that we rekindle and keep the product as serene and pristine as we could.
This year's theme for the conference is Keeping the Right Balance, enhancing destination sustainability through products, partnerships, and profitability. A message that fits right in with some of the goals of Destination Tobago.
We've made had a lot of initiatives in trying to increase airlifts, in trying to increase the tourist arrivals, and that certainly the information from that conference will go a long way in that regard.
Statistics show that visitor traffic to the region should increase by another 4 to 5% this year. Figures that Tobago can perhaps capitalize on now that it's armed with the strategies learned from the conference. I'm Umdara Mills for Let's Talk Tobago.
We all know or would have heard one of these stories. Family members torn apart because of disagreement over land, or best friends who no longer speak to each other and are now before the court. These cases usually take a long time to resolve, huge sums of money, and in some instances the damage is irreparable. But it doesn't have to be that way. There's a chance to do things differently. Here's how.
This is a courthouse, a place that's a bit overwhelming for some. Compare it to this, friendly and non-threatening, more formally known as a mediation center. Which would you choose? Here, issues related to land, family, or arguments between tenants and landlords can be resolved in a friendly manner and in a relaxed atmosphere by a neutral third party, and it's all free.
If someone asks me whether they should go to court or come to mediation, I would certainly suggest mediation, because it is not time-consuming as the court is. It is not as costly as the court is. You have an opportunity to state your position clearly and to have a say in whatever decision is arrived at, whereas in the court, that is up to the judge.
He says mediation is usually the best option to resolve conflicts.
Sometimes a simple difference of opinion can escalate into something that is violent and that ends up with maybe someone dying and someone going to jail for quite a long time. If these matters are nipped in the bud and if they're caught early, then they can be dealt with through mediation, and it very likely would not reach to that extreme.
In this country, there's a growing movement towards mediation as the courts are now referring more and more cases to various centers throughout Trinidad and Tobago.
Right now, the court is sending persons to us to try and settle whatever disputes they may have in mediation rather than dealing with it themselves. And what that does is take away quite a lot of workload from the courts. And as you know, the court lists are backed up and there's a backlog. And so by using mediation, they're reducing that backlog.
So far, this island only has one mediation center. It's located here in Bagatelle number 1 and hears about 35 to 50 cases per month. But discussions are being held to possibly have a center in the east of Tobago. I'm Davia Chambers for Let's Talk Tobago.
It's time to take a break, but coming up, a Speyside club designed for our not-so-young people. Details on the other side. You're viewing Let's Talk Tobago. Thanks for staying with us. Today, our journey takes us to 3 historical sites in Plymouth. And right now, we're at the entrance to the Mystery Tombstone. It's the final resting place of Betty Stevens and her child. But who is she, and why does the inscription on the tomb continue to baffle visitors more than 200 years later? We'll tell you what the epitaph says in a bit. But first, let's get to those workers we often see with hard hats, boots, protective eyewear and gloves. It's part of the requirement to ensure there's no loss of life or limb. It's also standard practice for what's known as occupational health and safety. Umadar Mills explains.
These employees often work in environments which require the use of specific and essential safety equipment that protect their lives and the lives of the public. Under their employer, the Division of Infrastructure and Public Utilities understands that in order to improve productivity, these workers' space should be free of hazards and danger.
Safety is paramount because your workforce is what you should take care of. And when you have your health and safety equipment, you are much entitled to work better, feeling safe, and you are safe due to doing the proper requirements with health and safety.
The safety fair was facilitated by the procurement unit, the arm of the division which purchases the goods and the materials for use by the workers. Procurement Assistant Peter Lincoln says the event was an opportunity to provide additional information and give employees a better understanding of the materials purchased for their protection.
The end users could come, they can see for themselves, okay, these are the safety equipments, this one is for welding, this one is for construction, and they can get an idea of the correct specifications so that when they bring in the requisition to us, they'll be specific as to what they want so that we'll be able to buy or purchase for them exactly what it is that they need.
Orson Torm also works in procurement. He says he's aware of the safety goods purchased by his unit, but this fair allowed him to get a more hands-on experience.
I saw several new products in terms, new boots, for instance a backstrap. First time I saw it and I actually put it on and it felt different to one I put on before.
16 of the division's suppliers showcased their products, giving them a chance to interact with the people who'd eventually use the equipment they sell.
It is something that should be the forefront of a company. I mean, you have guys working in trenches, construction, moving heavy equipment, and they should know the do's and don'ts. And with a health and safety crew also should be, I think it should be number one in a company once you're dealing with especially industrial stuff and that kind of thing.
The one-day safety session forms part of the division's thrust to ensure it adheres to established occupational health and safety standards. I'm Umadara Mills for Let's Talk Tobago.
Now, some might disagree, but there are benefits to growing old. In fact, there are those who believe our senior years can be the best time of our lives. But whether we age like fine wine or continue to run marathons like Granny Lou says, there's a club here on this island that provides the elderly with a chance to intermingle with friends and get in some physical and mental exercises. Davia Chambers reports.
In the scenic, serene village of Speyside, some may say there's not enough activity to keep the elderly active. Well, that's now a thing of the past with the launch of the Speyside Senior Citizens Club, where they can partake in arts and craft, cooking, baking, and many more activities.
Come out and be a part of this event. You forget all the loneliness at home, all the stress. Come out and have fun, laugh and talk, and enjoy whatever you meet, new friends and so on. And I know that you would find it very interesting and entertaining.
And that's really the purpose of the center. The Community Development Coordinator, Ayana Roy Webster, says studies show that Trinidad and Tobago has an aging population. That's why it's so important to implement programs such as these.
We are committed to working with the Speyside Village Council, the Speyside Multipurpose Facility, and you, the seniors of Speyside, to ensure your continued well-being and development. Through the department's Vocational Skills Training Program and our Indigenous Craft Initiative, We are committed to bringing tutors to work with you.
She says retired persons who actively engage in socializing continue to live happy, long lives.
If the facilities are here, if the programs are here, if people are willing to work with you, to hold your hand as you age, and to ensure as you age gracefully, I encourage you to please grasp the opportunity. At Speyside, this is new. This is a new initiative, and it can bring new life and new meaning to your community.
It's hoped this club will be the motivation for other communities to start their own senior citizens clubs. There are already activity centers in Charlottesville, Roxborough, Rockley Vale, Marys Hill, and Canaan Bonaccord. I'm Davia Chambers for Let's Talk Tobago.
On the surface of it, Tobago's Legislative Chamber and the National Junior Panorama have nothing in common, but they have collaborated. Well, sort of. We'll hear how from Omadara Mills.
The gift of an educational tour of Tobago and the Assembly Legislative Chambers in particular was what 33 students of the St. Mary's Government Primary School received for their second place accomplishments in the 2013 National Junior Panorama. Standard 4 student and pan player Carla Johnson says she appreciates the learning experience because it helps her with her studies as she balances academics with her love for pan music.
I have never been here, and it has been a great experience for me because I learned so much in my social studies now, and I never know about all these different things, but it's a great experience for me to come here and learn more about the government and how the assembly works and what this is all about.
Although they are from Trinidad, one of the supervising parents on the trip, Beverly Johnson, supports the initiative to have the students come to the island and learn about the governance of Tobago.
The first place they said that we were going to come is to the House of Assembly, which was very good because most children only hear about it and see it on television. It was nice for them to actually come and see and hear the history of the House of Assembly.
The efforts taken by the THA to preserve the architecture of the island's legislative building impressed the contingent. Educational tours for primary and secondary schools are facilitated by the Assembly. It's done so that students will better understand the institutions which govern their lives.
As young students, eventually they will become adults and they will be expected to actively participate in the process of government, either by virtue of voting in elections or by virtue of themselves being representatives of the people.
Now 188 years old, the Assembly Legislative Chambers was recommissioned in 2011 after it underwent a period of refurbishment, which maintained its unique Georgian architecture. The structure has been the seat of the island's governance since the 1980s. The one-day visit by the school saw the students visiting other sites such as Fort King George, Store Bay, and the village of Buku. I'm Omadara Mills for Let's Talk Tobago.
It's time for another break, but we couldn't leave here without telling you why Betty Stevens' tombstone has left many confused. It reads, "She was a mother without knowing it and a wife without letting her husband know it, except by her kind indulgences to him." There are many theories about what this means. One suggestion is that it speaks to the clever concealment of an interracial romance. No one knows for sure, but it's worth thinking about as you wait for our story on the Tobago Jazz Experience. That's coming up. Welcome back. You're viewing Let's Talk Tobago. Today we're in Plymouth, and behind me is the Powder Magazine, one of the historical remains of war that can be found here at Fort James. It's named after Jacobus James, the Duke of Courland, and is the oldest fort in Tobago. Its rich history covers revolting slaves, destruction at the hands of the French, and finally the British reclaiming and rebuilding it. Now that's a lot of action for one little fort, but let's settle down a bit to hear how a little help can go a long way from a living room set to white ceremonial uniforms. Things that don't sound like much, but are items needed in a quest to make Tobago a better place. Details from Omadara Mills.
Family First Foundation, located in Calder Hall, is an organization which opened its doors to abandoned children in 1998 and still continues to provide a space for youths to call home. One of the coordinators, Merle Hercules, received a $5,500 check to defer the cost of a new living room set for the children to feel more comfortable. She says that she appreciates the THA's recognition of the home's efforts.
We are there in the field, plowing and helping young people, and especially in abandonment and children at risk. We are very grateful because you have always, zeroed into our causes and inquired into how we are progressing.
The Smithfield Learning Center is another institution which seeks to help young persons become good citizens who contribute meaningfully to Tobago. This private school, which was established 8 years ago, received $400 to cover some of the cost of a fundraiser. The money raised from their event will go towards purchasing learning resources for the students. One of the teachers, Carlos Trim, says that the teachers see the potential in the students and are willing to help them succeed.
They're very interesting students, and they are willing to learn. And the teachers are willing to take that opportunity to make sure that the students reach very far.
One other organization which focuses its efforts on positive youth development is the Trinidad and Tobago Cadet Force 3rd Battalion. The organization got $104,000 to fund the purchasing of white ceremonial uniforms. Representing the cadet force was Cloyd Blackman, who is grateful for the financial contribution.
We pledge to continue to do the work that is necessary, to continue to bring Tobagonians forward, to continue to lift Tobagonians from where we meet them to where they should be.
Youth organizations were not the only ones who received checks. The contributions of now deceased World War II veteran Josie Eastman was recognized by the THA. His daughter Linda Eastman collected an $18,000 check which will help with the funeral expenses. Mr. Eastman is seen as an icon who contributed to the positive growth of his home village Castara and by extension Tobago. I'm Omadara Mills for Let's Talk Tobago.
As we speak, you're probably preparing to head out or you're making up your mind about which show you want to be your Tobago Jazz experience. And if you're still not sure, there are plenty of opportunities because this event goes on for 8 days. Here's a taste, or maybe it's more like a tease of what's in store.
This is Speyside Recreation Ground, the venue where the first musical notes will be struck for the 5th anniversary celebration of Tobago Jazz Experience. This ground will be transformed into a spectacular showcase of local and international talents.
I love that I can't explain.
And local reggae crooner Kevin Carter will make an appearance for the first time at Tobago Jazz Experience.
The one who takes my last name, this is you.
Carter writes his own songs and is anxious to share his compositions with the audience.
When I write, I just try to use my experiences in my music, especially when it comes to relationships.
Tobago Jazz Experience 2013 continues until April 28 and spans the entire island with events such as Hillside Jazz at Signal Hill, Waterfront Jazz on the Esplanade, Northside Jazz in Castara, Jazz on the Beach at Mount Irvin, World Music Night and Pizzazz at Pigeon Point Heritage Park. The series of concerts will climax with Beach Jazz Fiesta at Pigeon Point Heritage Park, featuring Grammy Award winner Dionne Warwick. Tobago Jazz Experience not only brings music with an international flavor to local and foreign audiences, but also offers a slice of community life in Tobago to all its patrons. From the Division of Tourism and the Transportation, I'm Juliet James reporting for Let's Talk Tobago.
The organizers say the time has come for fashion to explode under a starry night in Tobago. They bill it as the fashion and style event that crowns the entire jazz experience. Music and fashion, perhaps not a bad combination. Davia Chambers tells us why.
It's a fashion show and soiree with a taste of jazz, the perfect mix of style, gourmet food, and live entertainment here on this island. It's the Tobago Fashion Coda. Promoter Don Grant says the idea came about because he wanted to showcase what Tobago is all about, resort and leisure. And that's exactly what patrons can look forward to. The likes of designers such as Claudia Pegas, Heather Jones, Monique Nobrega, and our very own Delia Allen, who taught Project Runway's Season 9 winner Anya Ayongchi to sew. The promoter wants this show to be memorable and also enhance the Tobago Jazz experience. Don says the event's goal is to have Tobago recognized as the place to go for fashion and entertainment. He hopes it'll be a long-lasting one that presents Tobago in a festive atmosphere. Tobago Fashion Coda is sponsored by the Tourism Division as well as the Division of Community Development and Culture. I'm Davia Chambers for Let's Talk Tobago.
And it's time to have your say, the segment of our program where we hear from you, the viewers. This week we're asking about the latest installment in the Scarborough Beautification Project, the Boardwalk. Now that it's completed, we wanted to know if it has made a difference in our capital. This is what you said.
It's looking real nice. The flowers, and it's a natural structure, and it could save somebody from getting bounced down. It's very good. Very, very nice.
It makes Scarborough look a little better than how it was before.
Sometimes, like when the bus comes and stops, people use it to walk than to cross, so that they wouldn't have to be in front of a car to cause any accidents. So use it as a safer way.
The Boardwalk in Scarborough is it kind of uplifts the place, and the tourists get somewhere to hang out, and the people waiting for bus get somewhere to hang out, and
It is very much safe, convenient and comfortable for all the people in Scarborough.
Get all facelift done. But otherwise, I ain't too sure because you ain't seen much people walking and I ain't sure about the use. I ain't if it's generally serving the purpose to everybody. But it's still a good try.
It's saving people from walking on the road. And it's lovely. So it's a good thing.
I ain't like that scene at all. That not good. Waste money.
I say good for me is the best thing they ever do. They should have done that a long time ago.
And that's how we bring this week's edition of Let's Talk Tobago to a close. Do remember you can send us your comments to information@tha.gov.tt or visit us at www.tha.gov.tt. Like us on Facebook and add us to your YouTube playlist. I'm Colleen Holder, and on behalf of all of us at the Department of Information, have a safe and enjoyable week. As we go, we leave you with another look at Plymouth's historical sites.